Good morning, everyone, and thank you for so many of you turning up. Thank you for dragging yourself out of bed and joining us on what is looking like a fantastic content-based panel on day one of NEM. In a moment, I will ask my panelists to introduce themselves, but before that, I thought I'd indulge myself a little bit. It's been 10 years of NEM, so why don't we sort of reflect a little on the past decade? 10 years ago, I sat on a panel at NEM. I wasn't moderating, I was participating. Who else is in their second decade of NEM? Fantastic. There we go. 2.
There were some hands up in the hall.
Maybe the older hands are still in bed, though.
Exactly.
It could be having coffee. My panel was there to discuss the future of advertising. I mention this because it feels a little bit familiar in terms of the topics we were talking about. We were talking about innovation, we were talking about creativity, and we were talking about the threat of new modes of advertising. Effectively, would these new advertising algorithms replace creativity? Would targeted advertising outpace viralism? I mean, the short answer is no. We're still there. But at the time, it was pretty scary stuff. There were a lot of very creative people very worried about what would happen with their jobs, which is a bit of a familiar trend. And I think we'll be hearing a lot about AI in the next few days, and certainly that's a concern. Today, we're talking about content. We're talking about buying and selling, what makes people tick, what's their understanding of content, and how they reach those decisions. And I do feel, again, that we're sort of drawn into this sort of similar negative mindset. But I feel pretty sanguine about it. I think what we'll learn today is that although the tools we use may change, and tastes change, and creativity flourishes, there will always be an irreplaceable human element to what we do in this industry. And that is foremost, to allow us to connect to our audiences in an inescapably human way. But enough from me. Let's proceed with the panel, introduce our speakers, and kick off NEM 2023 proper with what makes content buyers tick and how do they find their perfect fit. So I'll start on my left with Jan. Please introduce yourself, your company, and tell us all a little bit about your role.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jan Maxa. I work for Czech TV, the Czech public broadcaster, as a head of director of content and new media. That means I and my team have editorial responsibility for all audiovisual content of Czech TV, apart from news and sports. And the other half of my team runs all the websites and mobile apps and smart TV apps, and the content and the infrastructure of Czech TV.
Thank you, Jan. Katarina.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Katarina Pavlović. I'm head of programming of Prva and B92, which are 2 national broadcasters in Serbia, and also 6 cable channels that we run. Me and my team are head of scheduling and content acquisition in terms of choosing the right content that is perfect for both TV stations, the audience that is gonna bring profit in, because I'm from commercial TV station.
Thank you, Katarina. Marek.
Hi, I'm Marek Solon-Lipiński. I'm from Polish Public Television. I'm responsible for international relations, international cooperation of TVP, mainly with other broadcasters, with European Broadcasting Union and other entities. I'm also responsible for the Heart of Europe Festival, which is the event which was created by TVP for broadcasters, but also for creators from Central and Eastern Europe. And also my role is to coordinate the international channels and platforms of TVP, as we have several of them, including TVP World, which is one of the partners of them this year. So that's it.
Rahela.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Rahela Štefanović. I'm editor-in-chief for HRT, Public Service Media in Croatia. Together with my team, I'm in charge for scheduling for 5 TV channels, in charge for content creation and, of course, approving all the commissions and acquisitions.
Hi, good morning. My name is Iza Piotrowska and I work for a company called Megamax Media. We produce and distribute kids content, namely a linear channel for toddlers called Duck TV. And in my role as a director of affiliate sales and business development, I'm responsible for distribution and sales of our content globally.
Thank you very much. And also worth mentioning, everybody got a fluffy duck thanks to Visit in your welcome pack. So let's kick off with content. Thank you for the timer. Let's start. I'm going to start with Marek, I think. You mentioned Heart of Europe just now, so let's talk about that. So why don't we start by talking about festivals a little bit, and how they contribute to content trends? Are they reactive? Are they inspirational? Let's learn a little bit.
Well, from the experience of our festival, which is festival and forum, so we have both, like a contest for existing productions, but we also want to expand it to projects that are in development phase. I think it's a very good tool for exploring the trends, because thanks to this event, I would say that we are now able to understand how the other countries, how the audiences in other countries from CE region, what are the trends in viewership in their countries, what kind of content is popular there, what kind of stuff we can acquire from other broadcasters, and which other broadcasters can do the same. There are many cases of mutual, exchange or sales and acquisitions between the broadcasters, public broadcasters from CE region, thanks to this festival. So this is one thing, and second thing is that it connects people who are in similar roles, so they can afterwards they can discuss future projects. Mm-hmm. We started our event 2 years ago. And it was kind of, I would say, groundbreaking in terms of communication between professionals in our region, because we didn't know each other before. Mm. And now I would say we created a network of people who are responsible for content and programming in our region. That includes Rahela, that includes Jan, that includes many people from Baltic states, Ukraine. And so on. So this is something which is, I would say, worth doing.
Worth doing. And for the rest of you as well, it's a discovery, it's a networking. It's not just there for buying and selling, but it's dare I say it, understanding the hot trends is part of the research.
Well, as I like to say on these kind of forums, the founder of the biggest commercial channel in Czech Republic, Mr. Železný, used to say the only thing that the countries of Central and East Europe have in common in TV is Hollywood. And, it's now a bit, it's aged, but it's aged well, this saying, because we are a very fragmented territory. There are big cultural differences, even in countries who, like former Yugoslavia or former Czechoslovakia, were together for a time. We co-produce a lot with Slovakia, but there's some types of content which work well for both, but there's some which just don't cross the border, even though the border exists only for 30 years. So, yeah, that's hard work, and we need to meet and understand each other better. Absolutely.
If I may jump in just for a minute, we were just discussing backstage. I would like for commercial TV stations in the region to maybe do the same. I guess it's easier for public broadcasters because there is not competition involved. Mm-hmm. We're either competing within our country or These are media groups that are competing regionally, so we do not tend to exchange good ideas. We do not have, at least, I haven't heard of. And I would like us to get there, to work together on content, be creative, and then maybe decide that it's not for my TV station, but it's perfect for somebody else. That would be maybe the next level. It would help us get to the best content for each competitor, which is a bit far-fetched idea, but...
And if I may add, I want to encourage also the cooperation between public and private broadcasters.
Yes, as well.
I mean, we haven't co-produced with TVP yet, but we have co-produced with Channel Plus, Canal Plus in Poland. So, and it worked quite well.
No, if I may, we launched last year for the first time this forum, co-production forum, which is open for all participants, including the private channels, private production companies. So this festival part, which is for ready-made productions, this is limited for public broadcasters, but the networking event and the call for projects is open for everybody. So we are going into this direction, and I think that's great that you had this Czech-Polish production, which included the Polish branch of Canal Plus. So yeah,
Sounds good. Polish, Czech, and Croatian production.
I hope.
Okay, let me move to the end of my panel. Isa, I'm going to pick on you now. So, as director of affiliate sales, with both your hats, Megamax and Duck TV, let's talk a little bit about how you're identifying themes. Your audience is quite specific in some ways.
Yes, it is. It is. We have a very, very specific audience, as opposed to broad mass media audience for movies, for news, for sports, because our audience, our target audience, are very, very small kids, 6 months to 4-year-olds. So it's our product is very specific product for very specific audience, and we produce our own content. We're in charge of our own content, and we work with child psychologists to make sure that our content is is relevant and is suitable for very, very vulnerable audience. So we want to make sure that it's very safe, that the mother feels safe putting the child in front of the TV, watching our content, and doesn't have to worry about anything. So we provide educational entertainment content for a very specific audience. So that's what I can say.
I mean, we spoke a bit about that in general on the panel as well, because there are a few sort of kids lenses through which some of the content is discovered. But for the rest of you, what kind of decisions and processes do you go through to make sure you're getting the right content that's both, as you say, educational, safe, but also fun, right?
Yeah. So our content is entertainment, so it's education through entertainment. So it's very important. Yeah.
Yeah, with my background in kids, since I was for 4 years, I was head of strategy for kids. So I know how it's important to commission and acquire something that is educational but fun at the same time, because of all the media landscape and children using content every day for every minute. And if they don't like you, they can just push you in the back and go to something else. So it is very demanding audience, and I've learned a lot through this audience. So I know that they are very hard to please. So it is maybe sometimes it is more difficult to acquire and commission for kids than for the general audience. Sometimes.
It's children are both brutally honest and ask questions constantly.
Yes, they are.
We can learn a lot.
And then they don't give you more than 10 seconds to the minute. If they don't like you, they switch. So you can't have something that it's just not suitable for them. And as a public service media, you have to educate them. So it's your main goal. So it is pretty hard. But we managed to do a lot of good things regarding to this.
You were showing me some pretty impressive stats for your YouTube. Was it 120
million views on YouTube with our homegrown content from Croatia. So yeah, we are very proud of it. And with the help from EBU countries, you were talking about connecting to others and networking. And this is pretty important for all the public service media, especially. There is one sentence that I read a few years ago in the Nordic NRK's strategy regarding the content creation for the public service media. And it said, and it's always in my thoughts, so it said, if you want to reach and impact your audience, you should make content that is important but popular at the same time. And if you are doing something popular, it should have the importance in it. So it's pretty good thought to have it when you are when you are creating, when you are acquiring or commissioning. So it is definitely something worth reading.
Homework for me, I suspect.
Yeah.
We also spoke a little bit on the panel around data. Don't worry, it's not too boring. Around the kind of information that you're also creating or gathering or you're being informed on these shows. I think it's more specifically for children's content, but obviously it extends into that space. We talked about psychologists at one point. I thought that was really interesting, if you could elaborate.
It's the only way you can do it. So especially for the kids 0 to 7, it is so well known that developmental psychology is the key to this. So a few years ago, Vesna, who is now in the audience, when she was head of our second channel, she made every independent producer have the psychologist on their team for the development of the project. And then we implemented that in every project regarding the kids, which is done in the house and outside from the independent, not psychologists, but productions. So I think it's one of the key elements, and knowing your audience is, of course, very important. And with the kids changing habits every day, you have to get to know them really well and to have ethnographic research, day by day, spending time with them in parks, in kindergarten, schools. So for me, it was really important.
Yeah. And then once you develop the content, then you put it in front of the panel of kids and parents and watch the engagement and see if it actually worked. What we think worked, if it actually works.
And if it's not, then you are in a problem.
Exactly.
No, but I think we all use data to make a good decision. We cannot rely. First, we use data, for example, when we look for. When we switched our programming schedule to having domestic dramedy series every workday, 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. in prime time. Previously, we were running Turkish. That was like 5 or 6 years ago. So we wanted to switch to domestic. We did research with formats of such series that we wanted to acquire based on data, how well they did in the original territory, and then if they were adopted anywhere near our region, which is a good sign if they were already being adopted in Europe, for example, or countries of Mediterranean, which is similar audience. Then we did pilots, and then we did focus groups. So we are really using data to make the best decision possible. We cannot rely on and it always tells us important stuff. And also using data to know when it's time to end the series, for example, and look for something new. So data is very important for, at least, I think, for everyone.
What we find very useful for, guiding us in creating content and also the programming strategy in general is, I'm not sure whether you're familiar with the Needscope, the market analysis or audience analysis. Needscope, it's called Needscope. And it divides the whole population in 6 segments, 2 of which are, depending, the difference between the segments is basically their attitude to life. So you have these I'm not sure whether I got the names right, but some are the ambitious ones and some are the ones which just want to enjoy life. And then there are the ones which are more like afraid or, tend to depend on friends and close relationships. And the thing is that there are 4 segments which are really exciting, which you want to create for, and then there are 2 segments which are really boring, which you don't want to create for, but they form the majority of the population. So basically, basically, you have to pick one of the 4 exciting segments and create for them while not losing the 2 big ones. And it's very useful to think about, you know, how actually what forms what is the structure of overall population in terms of their teacher to life. I found it very useful, and my people as well.
That's really interesting. I've spoken a bit with some of our Scandinavian colleagues who've got a similar structure, and they segment into. They're trying to change. They change their kind of production. I'm aware I'm now acting as a panelist. Sorry. They're changing their sort of production strategy away from demographics and towards need states and things like that. And there's a really good explanation that was given to me, at least, which was there's a time and place where people need to be challenged, and there's a time they need a hug, and we need to provide both of those kinds of content in an equal way.
Thank you, Jonathan.
You're now the moderator. I've lost my train of thought. I had something about cows, didn't I? Yeah.
Yes.
Cows. Yeah, let's talk about cows. This does follow on a little bit. We're talking about data and when to end a program. So let's move to that a little bit. We talked we talked about how do I phrase this? Commercial strategies or strategies in general when you're following a hot trend. There's a tendency to sort of play it safe. You know you have the audience. Even if it's declining, you still have that audience. And so somebody on the panel, which may have been me, said there's a tendency to milk the cow until it's dry. So the question is, how do you draw the balance there? At some point, you must make the leap to close the show, to lose the audience and start again.
That's something that it is related to what you just said previously as a panelist, which is a balance between new, original, fresh, exciting content and something that you know is working. But when you know it is working, everybody else at least in Serbia where we operate, everybody else pick up the same trend. So even though if you're very original in the first year and you think of something great and audience comes, second, third year, somebody else is going to start doing the same, try to copy, try to get the audience to them. So there comes a point when you have to decide to make a switch. It's the audience gets saturated with, I don't know, drama. If 4 TV stations are offering drama, similar content, then you need to step up and offer something different, but not lose them. It's a tricky thing. It's more of it's a balance between keeping the old audience and offering something original. We usually do small number of episodes per season, do something original or new format that has never been shown in Serbia and see how it goes, and then maybe we strip it for the next year. Or in terms of scheduling, the safest thing is to use what is still working great to create another slot for the same audience, go step up with the content, be more original, but keep that audience and kind of switch them to the new content. This is how when we play it safe. I think there's always a balance. You need to track the audience behavior in this world. When we have social media, when you have video all around us, you need to be fast and go with the technology and with the platforms and with, it's...
There was some nodding from the end of the panel. I don't know if you have something to add.
For us, it's, I don't know what I can add actually to it, because we, as I said, we have a very specific staff. So, we don't really, in a way, we following, maybe not content trends, but market trends in a way. Okay. So technical developments and market trends, because we, if there is any new distribution methods available, then we can straight away tap into it, because we own rights to our content. So it's very easy for us to just distribute it, just really follow the market trends and what is hot and what it's streaming platforms, I don't know, CTV, FAST, we can tap into that very, very quickly. We're owning rights to our content. Really.
I'm quite tempted to follow up with a question about FAST. Can we talk a little bit about that? I know a little bit about FAST. It's
quite still in
topic at the
Central
moment.
Eastern Europe is not maybe such a hot topic just yet. It's very much obviously something that was that started in the US and then sort of swapped to Western Europe. So we do. Although in DuckTV, in Megamax Media, our core business is still very much pay TV. In certain markets, where pay TV was a little bit patchy, we decided to start with FAST, so free-to-air advertising based supported channels basically, and that works very well for us, especially in Western Europe and in the States. So it's very interesting, and although we do see that, although the engagement numbers are amazing, the channel is being watched, and we see really a lot of thousands of users per month. The monetization is still a little bit challenging, especially with the kids' content because of the regular. Sorry?
That's in the States, or that's in
everywhere?
It's everywhere.
Everywhere. I mean, no, in the States, the monetization is slightly better than in Western Europe, for sure. Yeah.
CPMs are always higher.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I would say that from the point of view of public broadcaster, it is something that can be used. I mean, the development of fast channels. In our case, since we are investing also a lot in HBB TV, that could be also an option. And why I said that it can be good for public broadcasters, because we own rights to plenty of productions. So that's I think that's an easy, maybe not easy, but quite simple tool to also to monetize. If you monetize, in our case, we monetize our content and broadcast. So it can be a way of development also for us.
If I may go back to milking the cows for a minute.
Back to cows. Yeah.
No, I think, although it's difficult for everybody to, they transition from the old, comfortable, linear world to the new world, and many words were said about this, so I'm not going to go deep into this, but in a way, the public broadcasters, especially the ones like us, financed majority by license fees, have the luxury that at least by exploring the new avenues, we're not losing any income, any revenue stream. Whereas obviously for the commercial broadcasters, it's a bit of an existential question, because the old model is kind of stretched to a breaking point, and the new models, as we can see, even for the giants, don't really work, don't really end up in black. And I just had an extremely interesting discussion with a guy who was my best creative producer, and 2 years ago he was asked by Nova, the biggest commercial broadcaster in Czech Republic, to join them as equal in my position as head of content. And the aim was to, because Nova started very aggressively with their SVOD service called Vojo, which they want to build quickly into a mini Czech Netflix before the real Netflix really comes. And those 2 years ago, he was really hired to build that to premium offering for the SVOD service. But recently we had a lunch, and he said, well, midway, they actually noticed that the linear service is falling and the revenues are going away. So now I have to split my time between developing the premium content for the SVOD and also keeping the linear service, which still is the backbone of the income part, alive. So it's hard.
And that's a perfect segue to my next question. We were talking about the duality of linear and digital platforms. So let's move on to that. We have both Isa and Katarina. Is something definitely that as Jan introduces, it's a question of the commercial viability, but also different audiences, different distribution strategies. So what are your thoughts here around how you're balancing the demands of linear and digital, and what content decisions perhaps come about that? Do you try and merge the audiences? Do you definitely just treat them completely separately? What are our thoughts here?
I don't think we can view them as two separate audiences because they are attracted to the same content.
Yeah.
Which means we are in the business of creating an emotional bond between our content and the audience. If we manage to do that, then it's going to happen in linear broadcast, it's going to happen on digital, it's going to create chatter on the social media, it's going to reach audiences on all platforms. So we again are coming back to the content and making it emotionally relevant to people. I'm not talking only about drama, or I'm talking about news as well, about the whole programming. On the other hand, we are exploring some ideas on how to merge, on how to create a content that's gonna, for example, live on our main linear free-to-air channel, but then have exclusive content for apps or for digital, or for which is driving the audience from back and forth, let's say, from different platforms. We are thinking about introducing something like that into our drama series, creating a character that is going to have a proper life on digital platform and be a proper character on Instagram or TikTok. So these are ideas that we are looking at. And also vice versa, we are recognizing talent on YouTube, TikTok that is attracting a lot of attention, that is making the connection with the audience on that platform. We will then try to see if that works for us. So it's very interconnected.
I think that the recipe is definitely transmedia storytelling. So
Yes.
it's something that we are trying to do as much as we can. And even with the sports things, and of course with the drama, it's the most challenging thing to do. So we did not do such a thing yet. But I know that the others did, and they were very successful at that. So we did this December. There was, of course, the World Championship in football in Qatar, and we did a huge transmedia project on that, for the first time with such a digital impact, and with the young audience, attracting them not just, of course, during the matches, but outside the matches, and creating some new experience for them with HRT as a public service media, which they usually don't use. So it is something to make the awareness in that audience that we actually exist. So
is that designed to pull audiences to the traditional platforms, or are you just serving them in the most convenient way for them?
I think that we should serve them where they are, but create the general experience with the public broadcaster. So,
as a commercial broadcaster, we do tend to get them all to our biggest channel, because that's where we can actually monetize what we're doing. So
that's exactly the difference I was talking about. Because for us also, digital is more like, another way of getting the content to the people of Czech Republic who are paying for it. For the commercial broadcaster, there has to be a way to monetize.
It's true. It's quite a philosophical question in some ways about what the role of PSM is, if it's just distribution via other people's platforms.
It's to impact the society, so yeah.
And therefore, it's meeting them where they are. Yeah. But that's a whole different panel.
Yeah.
But an important one.
Yeah.
We'll do it in Madrid. Yeah. Let's keep on digital. I think that's a nice sort of transition there. We're talking about transitions. So with kind of this approach to transmedia, you talked a little bit about creating, if I understand, kind of personas. How does that then affect kind of your process of making decisions around content? So what's changed since before and after sort of this sort of digital revolution, if I can call it that? What pushes you now in terms of decision making around content that didn't exist, say, 7 or 8 years ago? I'm not sure that was the best question in terms of formulation.
The only thing that comes to my mind is when we're looking for a big entertainment formats, for example, primetime once a week things, big budgets. Then we look for already a developed format that already has all those elements. Like they developed the app and the way to get to audience around the app, and then strategies how to, I don't know, like they do a casting, for example, for participants 6 months ahead on YouTube or somewhere where they already gather young audience, rooting for the contestants that's going to go into the format. And still the format is for wide audience. The format is big entertainment show. So maybe that's the kind of format that we would be looking for if we this is what changed versus like 10 years ago when maybe it was not important to have an app and look at what can be done on YouTube or whatever.
And you can see, for example, at the moment when you are broadcasting something, and then you can see the reaction of your audience on all social media. So you have a feedback right away, and then according to that feedback, you can make another article for websites or something like that. We had one of our most popular shows in the prime time, which is a documentary, and the reactions, because one of the guests in the documentary was one of our famous football players, Vida, and he had a farm with pigs in Slavonia. So it was really inspirational for all the people in Croatia to see that. And internet was really exploded with this story. So we saw that everyone is interested in that. So we made a follow-up about this in our current news or in our website. So it is something that it's really worth having and worth acknowledging.
Would it be fair to say that audiences now are more in control of the content that they're viewing? Yeah. Yeah.
It would be.
It would be fair to say.
It would be fair.
You mean in control, like...
She does not like that.
You mean in control, like they can choose whatever they want to, so it's getting difficult because of... Or in control, they're pushing us in a certain direction and we have to go their way.
Yeah.
The pushing, yeah. The pushing. Yeah.
Pushing.
The pushing. I mean, we talked a little bit before about social influencing content. Both as research, but of course, if there's interaction going on, then that's a part of it as well. So, I mean, how many of you look
I think I have our research manager in the audience, and I don't think he would. He would not completely agree that chatter on social media should make us turn any other way than because we need to use all other data. We do have like our most popular drama show. All the comments are, "You're great, you're the best, we'll love you, you're the best actors." It is not actually true. So you have to combine that with serious research that's been.
Yeah. So what?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you're all using social for inspiration, but not necessarily accurate guidance.
You can see when something blows up. Obviously, that is content. It is engaging to everybody, so obviously you're going to use that as well.
I think it's just about being, flexible and ready to work with whatever the social mad world brings. But on the other hand, not to jump on everything that, every shout, every opinion that appears there. I mean, we had a talk show about young mothers and their problems on our digital platform, and very quickly a Facebook group, a huge Facebook group formed around the show with mothers actually discussing their problems between themselves. And gradually they stopped watching the show and they just were discussing in their Facebook group, which kind of had the name of our show, but they no longer needed the show. They were happy amongst themselves, So that's
a strange kind of success.
It's a weird kind of success, but we still consider it a success because they were really happy about that.
That's another panel. Yeah. We have 2 minutes, and I still have many questions. I'm going to very briefly talk a little, I think, about international competition. We started the panel talking about actually building connections and collaboration. Why don't we end it talking about this region. Let's talk a little bit around, what role does collaboration and localization play in the context of international competition? I'm talking Netflix here, obviously, and incumbents. So, in 20 seconds, what do we feel about effectively that? What role does localization in terms of content play moving forward in the context of international competition?
We need to get better at it in order to survive and stay relevant.
Well, I think that there are some examples of very, very good, transmission of content throughout the region. We, as TVP, we sold some licenses for formats, for series to several countries. So I think it can travel. I mean, our content can travel and it can be localized in neighboring countries. So, yeah, that's that.
Okay.
People will still go for original content and local content. That's our experience. And I'm going to repeat what I said, I think, 2 years ago here. We're out of time, but I'm going to say it anyway. We think now we have an abundance of content, and you have me personally. I think I have like 10 apps and YouTube Premium, and when I want to relax and watch something, it's hard work. You have to locate it, you have to find it, you have to remember. You told me about the series on HBO. Is it HBO? Then I watch the trailer. Then I'm like, no, this is not. Watching. Yes, and then I go back to linear TV, like, oh my God, let me relax. There is a person who was thinking about what I want to watch. Mm-hmm. He put it from morning to evening, and this is what I'm going to watch. So this is, I would just like to end that so linear TV is going to survive.
There you have your reason for the success of Fast.
It's the laid-back TV experience.
Exactly.
Final comments from the end of my panel. Rahela, is there anything you want to add before I wrap up? Localization or competition?
But definitely the original homegrown content is always the first choice of our audience. Just to have a perfect one for them is, of course, the hardest thing to do. So we have to try on collaborate, network, and this is the way that things should be done, definitely.
Perfect. So we're slightly over time, but I think that's okay. So I'll wrap up. So big thank you to my panelists. We've heard a lot here today. We've been through many topics, and we only killed one cow. We talked about building connections, the importance of emotional relevance in content, and also sort of a transition of what we look for in terms of the platforms and a new era of sort of transmedia in terms of how we build these programs. So big thank you to my panelists. And thank you to my audience.